So members, you're welcome. My name is Wilbur Sebuyungo Kivekayonga. So here you're studying research methods. I know many times when students hear research, whoa, it is on. Sometimes some people think it is a hot one. But research is very simple. And indeed, here I'm taking you through a little brief of what you need to know that is required of you to know in research methods as basic. So in brief, here you're going to find some of the contents here. For example, you're going to see what research is. Here you'll find that research comes from two words: research, which means repeat. When there is a word re, it means repeat, searching. It means in research you search, and search again. Simple words, we are finding out. Yes. So the job here we're doing is to find out. But then you realize that finding out, you need to have a challenge or a problem which is affecting the community that you want to find out and get the solution that addresses that problem. That if you do not find out to get the solution, the appropriate solution to that problem, then we shall use it with trial and error and waste a lot of resources, yet the problem can still remain persistent. Here you will also find classifications of research, where you will see there are various classifications of research based on purpose, but you will see two here. For example, basic research which is aimed at sorry so so here you'll find we shall see two major classifications, but when you're doing research you'll find these other classifications of research. You'll find basic research and also applied research. We call it basic research because the problem you're solving could be ideal. Ideal means that the problem may not necessarily be a real problem. The students in universities do basic research to usher them into applied research, which deals with the real problems, and you've got to make sure that problem is erased and you participate and make sure your research erases that problem. But in basic research, we send the student, you collect data, and then after you present your findings in the university setting. So you have to cite references, those who wrote about that problem, and then collect data from the field to inform us what is happening in there. Then applied research is always used in organizations like an NGO can contract you to go and do research and see why maybe some people are not economically sound in a community. Then you go and make inquiries and questions, then they give you responses, then give a report, and that report will guide training of those people to prevent poverty, and that training will have to take place there. So applied research is usually a research which is going to be put into practice. But in basic research, you come up with a dissertation and then it is kept there for people to read. In applied research, it's not about documentation. Things have got to be put into practice. You will see the importance of research in education and that to the teacher. Otherwise, if we eliminated the research as a course unit to be studied by a student, what would that student miss out? You see? Now, you're studying possibly to teach science, to teach social studies, English, mathematics, and those in secondary are studying to teach specific subjects also. However, the community does not consider you as a mathematics teacher. The community sees you as a what? As a teacher. So you'll find you are teaching social studies, but the community is bringing to you learners of mathematics. Early morning, the P3 child, my child, yeah, they gave a holiday package, and here it is. You cannot tell such a community that for me I'm SST. Yet you even studied mathematics in primary and secondary. If it finds you that that question that the learner has presented is there, you don't know it. Research will have to tell you what it is. Otherwise, when you say that is not mine and that it is about teaching and learning, then possibly you have not mastered the art of research. So you will find out which field is that question, and what does it now. These days there is a lot of a pool of sources where you can get to know how to handle such problems, unless the problem is very complex. But most of the problems in this world, it is us that make them what? Appear complex because of fear. So research will eliminate fear from the teacher, making the teacher able to address all problems that surround the teaching profession and provide appropriate solutions. It also makes the teacher informed. I was one day in a URA meeting. They used to call them Open Minds Forum 2014 in a hotel, Imperial Real, and the minister for gender and social development came, and this was a URA conference. So she came complaining that the sanitary pads of girls are overcharged, the tax on them is too high, how can they afford, and the communities have many girls than boys, and everyone was clapping. But URA had already scrapped off that tax 2 years back. 2 years back. That teacher, sorry, that minister spoke without research. Was speaking on a ground of zero research. When you get a fact, the following day you need to keep updated, upgrading yourself so that you are still, your knowledge is updated, and that is through research. You see that? Recently, one of the students was telling me there, I presented the concept paper, I was not allocated a supervisor. And before the end of the year, we had already allocated supervisors to those who had presented the concept paper for research. And the document was there on WhatsApp. So when she came, she said, hey, you did me bad. Then we said, the document is there. I had it on my computer and phone, but I couldn't share to the student. I said, let us go back. We scrolled back until she found it and looked and saw her name. They said that. Now, that student was struggling with research. Before you draw a conclusion, as a professional teacher, you must have already researched data to inform that conclusion. Otherwise, you end up, people will doubt your profession. She needed to do, that is now called a literature review. You need to see what is already written before you do what? You write. You've seen people sharing a document which has already been shared by another within 2 minutes or 5 minutes back on WhatsApp group. Yeah? Now, it means that that person is taking action without literature review. Literature review tells us, read and know what has happened before you say something. What have others done? At least scroll back some days and see what has really been happening on this group. And then after that, take an action. Then people will, hey, this one we have not heard it. That is, in a research for us, we call that literature review. Read what others have done before, and then when you come up with yours, it will not be the same as what others have done. Otherwise, when it comes to intellectual property, people can even sue you. If it is writing a book, you write exactly what other people have written, they will claim that that book is a duplicate. For us here, we call it literature review. So when the teacher has mastered research, we expect that teacher to even be able to come up with those books that you praise other teachers to be writing. There are teachers who are writing the books you're using to teach. Why not you? Why not you? So, research will help you to know what should be written and how to present it in a way that is understandable by everyone. You will find various relevances of research in teaching and learning. But here, what we not want is always to hear the word "I don't know" from the teacher. I don't know. I don't know. Did he ask you something? I don't know. I don't know. That is not a response of a researcher. The researcher will say, let me find out. I asked my friend last time, are you a head teacher? He's doing masters. Then he said, no, I'm not a head teacher. I said, that's not an answer. A person who is planning to be a head teacher can give. Say, I'm not yet a head teacher. You see that? That gives you hope and confidence that you're on the journey of being a head teacher. Even here, when something comes to you and you don't know it, you say, so far, I have not yet. Yes, learned it. Not I don't know it. I have not yet learned it. That can give even a space to someone to guide you, because you've already opened that you need to learn it. But no, I don't know. So here you're also going to see the research process, but most importantly, in the research process, the student should note that research does not begin from a topic. It begins by identifying a research problem. The research process is there. You're going to study it. But I'm taking for you those key issues you need to note that students always struggle with. In the research process, it tells us if one is to do a research, what does this person start with, what comes next, and then what follows. The thing is, if you are to start to do research, identify a research problem. Others in the research process will or can follow. An entire research process is already presented to you, and a tutorial is already available. I think some people have already studied it with already demonstrated research process. But most importantly, a problem must be identified, then other steps can follow. That's why in research, we learn to state a research problem. While stating the research problem, we shall see the three parts of a research problem. That's why when people are presenting concept paper, that's where we tell them, concept paper is a requirement for a student to get a supervisor so that you get to do your dissertation or a research proposal and a dissertation. So in the concept paper, you're required to state the what? The research problem. So that research problem, for us to tell that this research problem is right, we tell it by seeing that that problem has the three parts. One of the parts is called the ideal. This is perusing through. We are going to create another session where we are going to see a little detail. The ideal part, then the reality part, and also the effect of the problem. The ideal part, the reality part, and the effect of the problem. So we shall see how to state a research problem in practice. Then when we state the research problem, we create a research topic for it. And then from this research topic, we shall see that a research topic has what we call variables. Those are new words for someone who is starting. But of course, they are going to be spoken. Variables. So that there in bracket, you can put that the topic should have two variables. Then we shall learn what variables are. Then after that, you develop a conceptual framework. We shall also see how a conceptual framework is constructed and what it is. Then from this conceptual framework, we shall develop specific objectives. We shall see how to state specific objectives here. Now, specific objectives, as they are specific, you need to put in bracket. They should be SMART, S-M-A-R-T, those objectives. That's the characteristics of the objective. What is SMART? Let me get one person. S for specific, M for measurable, A for attainable, R for realistic, and T for time bound. You people, you're disturbing my electricity. Okay. Then from specific objectives, we'll note that from each specific objective, there comes research questions. That means that when a student has 3 objectives, there should also be 3 research questions corresponding to those objectives. Objective 1, question 1. We shall see how that is constructed in practice. Now, after that, we do what we call literature review. So literature review, if it comes to a lecture KH1. Nedda. Literature review. The student here has got to note that literature review means, what does it mean? Reading written works by other scholars. We would have called it literature reading, but view again the literature. So so that you may reason and debate, contrast, and do connections between writings of various scholars. So here in a literature review, you will find what we call sources of literature. That if we are to review literature, where do we go? So in here, you will find the various sources of literature, and also the student should also be able to tell why to review literature. Why do we review literature? The relevance of literature review. Here you also study about the various research approaches. We call them research approaches, but here you study about 3 research approaches, one of which is called qualitative research approach. Qualitative. That research approach is in form of words and opinions of people. Then the other is quantitative research approach. That one, as you hear the word quantity, then you know it is what? In terms of numbers. It is numerical in quantity form. Then the other one is called the mixed research approach. You'll see it. Then that one means it is blending the quantitative with qualitative together. You also study about research designs. So here, a researching student will ask, what are the research designs? What's the relevance of each research design? Yet here, a researching student will ask, what are the research approaches? Then, what's the relevance of each research approach? Here, the student will have to study what we call, to identify what is called a study population. Of course, in education, mostly we are studying about people, and those are the population is people, but also you can study about the population of trees, plants, animals, water. You can do experiments and come up with a conclusion. Then if it is a trees, then it becomes a population of trees. So those events you're going to, that a researcher is going to involve in the study are the ones we call the population. If you're going to study about cars, then it is a population of cars. It's only that when we were in primary schools, we were studying about population, and the mind was thinking population means people only. Yeah. So it is population. Then sample size. A sample is, if you are 70 here and I selected out some 20 to go and play football, then I've sampled 20 from a population of 70. Those are the only ones you select to get involved in your study. Then you also see sampling techniques, which will tell us so sampling techniques, when you find sampling techniques, is like, if you want to select 20 from 70, okay, how are you going to select that 20? Are you going to look at only those who are near to you? Are you going to, every after two people, are you going to select one? Or are you going to say only male you come out? Or what? These are the styles you use to select the sample. We call them sampling techniques. So there you will find what we call sampling techniques. Even today when you go to your online, because you're not the only teacher for research in the world, you go online and say, type there, sampling techniques. You'll find tutorials of people teaching sampling techniques like 100 and several of them. But here the question is, what are the sampling techniques? What's the relevance of each sampling technique? Why should one choose one sampling technique and ignore the other? Then here, these are data collection methods. Now, if I'm to collect data, to get facts from the samples, am I going to ask the question and they speak to me, or they are going to fill on some papers? Question. Oh, you're going to take them to the laboratory, and then test them, or you're going to expose them to a standardized test. You jump and you see whether men can jump higher than women. All those are now, how are you going to collect the data from those samples? Then what you call instruments here, if you are using interviews as a data collection methods, you will see that you need to have an interview guide, which will guide you to collect the interview, which we call here an instrument. You see that? If you're saying interview method as a data collection method, and then you don't have an interview guide, then possibly when you ask some people what is your age, others you're asking them when were you born, which may not give you the same responses. That's why you need to have the same interview guide for everyone. When you don't have it, so here you are going to see what are the data collection methods and what are the instruments for each of those methods. When you learn this, then you can learn how to construct a concept paper, then research proposal, and then later on the research report, which others call a dissertation. Now, I'm going to take you through a quick perusal of the research process, and then we shall add on another session. We are here for, we are going to have 2 hours here ready.